see when I read the comments and questions and stories that came in, I feel like we're all dealing with a lot of similar things, even if it's not senior pets who are so needy and have separation anxiety. It's other things like that. And yeah, so how are you doing, Yusef?
I'm doing very well. I actually like this topic a lot because this is the topic that I put most of my time focusing on throughout life because I've always been like wanting to have a perfect life, work-life balance. And before I had three basically major category. I had life and I had work and I had business, right? But now it's down to just like basically business is part of my work now and my life is my life. I like to live my life. So this is a very important topic because I've pondered on it and I've changed the strategies as I go because people think you should always be doing the same thing, right? When you work on work-life balance, you should always think the same way. But the truth is that every phase of your life is different. Before you have your work, you basically just have life, right? Life and school. And then after that, it becomes life and work. And then after that, it might become part of life will be maybe like caring for your family, right? So things get more complicated. And as it gets more complicated, you should always go back, or at least when it comes to me, I go back to the way I plan my life and try to plan it in the best way.
Yeah. So totally agreed. It is something that's always evolving. Because your life, yeah, obviously everything in your life changes all the time. You can't approach it the same way. The way you work, even if your business is staying the same way, everything around that is different. So you have to work it in different ways. You will also find you respond like you just feel different and you might need to balance it differently.
How do you ensure that your week has got a perfect work-life balance?
Perfect work-life balance.
I know.
I do like to wake up really early when the rest of the house is sleeping and get like a lot of my focus work done so that I can be done early enough and then I can switch gears and be focused on the family stuff. Also, the dogs tend to have nice long naps in the morning after waking up all night, so it makes it easier. So I just look at, yeah, what I can maybe get off my plate as well. That's another important thing we talked about last month in the last live stream was building your team. And I think that's really important. We tend to have a lot of stuff. So I think it's important to take an inventory of your whole life, your work, your personal stuff that you have to do, the things that you want to do that will make you feel fulfilled as well. Take an inventory of where like maybe things are going off the rails, where there's too much stuff. It's too much because you're several employees for your business, you're the CEO, you're all these things. That's too much for anybody.
Yeah, I actually have a process of 8 steps, if you will, to plan my week or to plan my year or whatever projects that I'm trying to work on and try to maintain the good work-life balance. One of the things on the list, you've already mentioned it, which is delegation. You need to delegate the work to other people that are capable of doing it. One of the tasks that I delegated in order to free up my time is editing of this streams that we do every or once a month. So I delegated and I opened up 2 to 3 hours of my time. Now I can focus more on Facebook ads and other things that help us generate revenue. So when it comes to eliminating distractions, it's not just like turning off your cell phone or turning off the notifications.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can do in that step would be to schedule your the blocks, the stuff that you want to do, whether if it's for life or for work, schedule them so that they match your friends and your children, if you have any children's schedule in a way. The way I put it, let's say if your kids are having soccer practices on Monday, maybe that's a good time to go and work out, right? Drop your kids off, go work out, and then pick them up after. So that could be something to do. Or you could work on a business project. If your kids go on a Sunday school or whatever, then that could be the whole day that you can dedicate towards your business.
And I think that people, obviously, they have to figure out who they are and how it works for them. But I actually feel like filling my head with other people's thoughts, whether it's audiobooks or podcasts, too much of that, it doesn't work well for me. I prefer to listen to music because I don't have to think. putting music also makes me think, because I hear their words, but I'm not like, they're not, it's how it relates to me, which you can still do with podcasts and audiobooks and stuff. But I find there is a balance. And I know a lot of people talk about trying to consume as much information. You also have to have some idle time in there.
That entail? Like, what do you do in order to make sure you are actually, feeling in a good state of mind?
I start most mornings with yoga and trying to, take that time. So sometimes I want to rush right into work or the things I need to do. And most days, I would say 5 out of 7 at least, that I will start it with yoga, even though I have that urge to condone my work. And I know that will make me feel a lot better. I also don't do well when I have too much scheduled in my day. I've always been a homebody all my life, and I never was like a super huge social calendar, even as a teenager and stuff like that. I stayed home a lot. I liked it. I read books. I did all this. I wrote poems. This is what I like to do. I also actually did get back into writing poems recently because I find them it helps me process my thoughts better than a journal. Like some people like journaling, but I find that it's too much work. I find the poetry allows me to use fewer words to work through what might be weighing heavy on my mind. And saying no to things and setting really good boundaries around other people, and also not allowing, like, boundaries are not only like protecting your time, but also not allowing what other people might say to you or about you or whatever to bother you. I think I've managed to surround myself with good people. I know a lot of people, they don't have that choice. They feel like there's family members or extended family that they have to spend time with. But in those cases, like, it's just something you have to, like, working on acceptance of how other people are, and it will bring less stress. Life happens. When do you put the work to the side and actually handle life priorities? Can you juggle them both as much as possible at the same time? When is it time to say hey, it's time to stop, even if it is online, it's time to slow down?
When is it time to take a break basically from work and taking care of the good important stuff or life stuff? Determine it based on urgency level. That is how I personally do it. Despite the fact you work every day trying to have the perfect work-life balance, you have to understand that sometimes the scale tips a little bit more towards one side than the other, right? So sometimes it's a little bit more work that you have to compromise on, and sometimes it's a little bit more of the other stuff that you have to compromise on. And how do you determine which one to work on the most? Is scale it based on, or each task based on urgency, right? So if it's urgent and necessary, there's this quadrant that I talked about in the past. In one area, you write down the stuff that are urgent and necessary, and then in the other one is urgent but not necessary, and the other one is not urgent but necessary, and then not necessary and not urgent. And then sometimes you start your day and you already have the blocks, and during the day you can change things around in order to match your schedule, right? So if let's say your rent is due, and you just remember that you haven't paid it, and then you also have a business project, guess what? Pay the rent first, right? So go pay the rent and then come back and work on the business project. Now, this is just a very small task, right? But sometimes it could be something different. Your kid gets sick. So what are you going to do? All you have on the schedule says that you're supposed to be working. No, take your kid to the hospital, take care of your kid, right? That's the number one priority. And then shift that block wherever you can fit, and maybe swap out family time or family activity for that task in order to be done, right? But how do you determine that? Is by determining the level of urgency, right? Don't feel bad when you have to change things around, right? We don't know how our day is going to look like and how our week is going to look like. And when it happens, it's just, if you get upset over it, it's just going to kill a lot of brain power, and it's going to make you feel like negative and not perhaps 100% when it comes to working about the tasks later. Just take it as part of life. Life is not smooth.
I also think when you are wondering if it's time to stop working, it's probably time to stop working. It means
Unless
that there is
unless if
something.
the deadline is near. But yeah.
No, but then I still have something for
Uh,
that. Because I think when you're at that point, okay, so I don't know what the situation is here with the question. Maybe the family's getting annoyed, or maybe there's things that need to be taken care of. But if things that there's pressure on you and you're starting to feel stressed about how much you're working, you need to stop. You need to take a break at least, right? Take a break and attend to some things, because and then you rework the plan. Just like you said, like you adjust. But I am constantly adjusting. Like when we create these products and these product launches, I have so many ideas and so many ways, specific things that I think it's going to look like. And it never looks exactly like that. I end up, okay, I'm running out of time. I can only do so much. I can delegate some of these things on, and then maybe we can add some of this later, or maybe I need to drop this part of it. And that is just going to have to be good enough. And it is good enough because I know we produce great stuff, right? And our customer, and also if you're thinking of your customers, I'm like, oh my gosh, they don't know what's in your head. They don't know how you imagined everything to be, and you're still going to give them value. I have confidence that our audience is very conscious of providing value. But what your customers are probably not as high as yours. The other thing that came to my mind too was asking for help when it comes to mothers in particular, because that's my experience, is that we have trouble asking for help. We have trouble slowing down to ask for help. And if it's people who, family members who might not know how to do something, or they might not do it to our standards, slowing down to teach them, right? And it makes a huge difference. And when you are asking for help, your family becomes more of a team, right? And you guys are working together. But if you're just doing everything yourself and then you're getting annoyed when they don't help you, it's like they don't even know how to help you, or they want to help you, but they know it's not going to be good enough for you, so that they try to avoid it. So Sue how do you balance home and business when your husband is retired, but you are not, because you are trying to start your own business?
Let him
Crooks
do
of the
all the
day.
work.
What?
I said,
Let him do the
let,
work.
yeah, let him do all
Assign
the house
to him.
chores. I think the retired person should always do more of the work at home, especially if they're not going to work. That's how my family, I've seen my mom and dad do it, and it's worked for them, and they're still married. But another thing would be to, again, divide your time into blocks, and time with the husband, time
Yeah,
alone,
so
and
he
time
knows,
for work.
right? And he'll be
Hmm.
aware. He'll
Yeah,
know the
yeah.
time to spend
And
with
also
him.
introduce him to the schedule that you made so that he's
Yeah,
aware of it. And
yeah.
what you can do to keep him also involved, have him become your accountability partner. He knows your schedule, and then you tell him, hey, I have a hard time following through on X, Y, and Z. Can you help me to ensure that I nail these blocks or these scheduled things this week? So you will be my accountability partner and you will help me out.
Then there are several challenges for me because pain is a constant companion. It is not always possible to attend your online sessions. Distractions are ever present, making it hard to carve out consistent times to work on many projects. How can it be better managed? So dealing with some health issues, it sounds, and pain. I mean, I personally deal with like pain, and it's also anxiety that causes a lot of the pain, but I do have like different hip issues and things like that. So I can feel that. And I often don't have the energy or ability to do as much as I used to be able to do in previously. So I find, obviously, finding the time of day where I am more likely to feel better to do certain things, but also always realizing that if I can get a little bit more done, and not to my total detriment, but sometimes we can do more than we think than we can. And I always try, like when I'm at the end, the part of my day where I feel like I'm running out of energy and my body hurts, I think what can I manage to do now, and whether it's in the house or anywhere, that will make my day easier tomorrow, right? So maybe there's something that needs to be done in the kitchen or laundry, or it could be work related, very simple tasks that I could take off my plate that tomorrow I'll be able to come back and handle different things. I'll have less on my plate, so I'll be more ready to do it. And that's, yeah, day by day, I'm managing how things can be handled. But I would like to just mention, it's related back to when you talked about working for 30 minutes and taking a 15-minute break. That is also something that wouldn't work for me, because I actually do have longer periods of where I can focus. And if I'm going to interrupt myself, I actually find that wrong. But it is true that a large number of people do better. And I think they call it like the Pomodoro technique, where you do work for a bit and then you take a break. And there's apps that can manage that too. It's Pomodoro, I believe. So there's probably a bunch of different apps. It's named after someone who created the technique, but like there's lots of people who make apps and software related to that. So next one is, it's ironic that I incorporate self-care and balance in mentoring coaching clients, but I take 2 steps back and 1 forward. Right now it's 9:54 p.m. on the 31st. Yes, I stopped to do some charity work and prepared dinner, but I should not be in my office while my husband sits by himself watching TV. I came in about 2 hours ago just to do one thing. Balance is definitely lacking here. I find that very relatable, but more a longer time ago when I was more starting my business and stuff, and that was that. Although I do totally relate to going in to do something for one thing and then being stuck there forever, because technology, there's so much inside of our computer or inside our phone that can distract us. So that part is definitely relatable. But yeah, it's like making choices, right? And I'm not sure what caused this person to need to go to the office at that time of night, and if it was an expectation that you hang out together on New Year's Eve. I think that part, sometimes you just have to realize that it can wait. Oftentimes it can just wait. It can, and everything will be fine. Everything's going to be fine. Like I talked about. So if you're a priority, I've put your relationship with your husband above the business. Obviously the relationship with your husband, and so that you guys have something in, you have income coming in or whatever, it's related to each other. So you're obviously your husband, it's not like you're going to give your husband all your attention and not that, but by putting him above in your mind, you will make better decisions.
And also have him get involved with your scheduling in a way that when you make your schedule, have him sit by so that you guys can decide some time for yourselves and some time for your business and some time for the other activities that you want to do together or separately.
I actually feel very much for this person too. Like Scott says, I would greatly appreciate any suggestions you have how to manage my day job while trying to work online. Although my job is not physically demanding, when I get home from work, I am exhausted. What is my day job, you might be wondering? An elementary school teacher. I realize most people think that teaching is a cushion job, but it's mentally draining. Plus, I turned 70 on Christmas Day. Wow, happy birthday. The one thing I have going for me is that I will be retiring in June of 2025. Thanks for any advice.
Wow. First of all, I would like to second that the teaching job is extremely draining. My mother is a teacher, and I know how it has impacted her. And my sister-in-law is a teacher. I have a lot of teachers in my family, and I know that some of the work tend to follow you home. And when it does, it's hard to have or maintain a perfect work-life balance, because sometimes you find yourself on the weekend correcting exams or tests or whatnot, right? But at the same time, you also have the best benefit that you can possibly have by having the entire summer off, or not the entire summer, but it works out to be 60 days. And that could be a time to, like for you, especially you're retiring in June, that will open up doors for you to have a
Big
lot.
summer coming, permanent summer. I do know I have my best friend is a kindergarten teacher, and she has these systems and she just repeats the lessons. So she doesn't try to do something new all the time, but she's such a great teacher. She pours herself into it, but she doesn't take a lot of the planning part home. I talked to her at report card time and she's super stressed out, but she doesn't take a lot of that home because she keeps doing these great activities and educational things that the kids that work, and obviously new things get introduced in the curriculum and she has to input them. But the time that she takes that home isn't as big because she tries to create the system and repeat as much as possible, which is also something that you can incorporate into your business. You're not trying to do new things all the time. Go easy on yourself, do what you can, but also incorporating Yusef's suggestions for creating your schedule. People think that working at home makes it a lot easier, and it does in a lot of ways. Like, I don't have to think about commuting and spending 10 hours of my day outside of the house. I can't imagine it. It's hard. I don't know how people get all their stuff done when they work outside the home as well and have all this stuff on top of everything. And never mind even adding a business to it. I think that's a big challenge. So it makes a lot of things easier, but it also brings in new challenges because your worlds are melding together, right? And you have to find that separation.
From when it comes to working from home, everything becomes easier, including distractions. So you get distracted way easier as well.
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought you meant easier, and is that it's easier to handle.
It gets even worse. At work, sometimes you have your boss, who's your accountability partner, like pushes you to do things. But if you don't have that, then when you work from home, it might be a little bit difficult.
Right. Bringing that same mindset, like taking it seriously, like it's your business, right? Yeah. It's your work hard. You dedicate yourself to an employer and work hard. Dedicate yourself to you. You're your boss.
Absolutely. You're totally correct on that one.